Good evening. As usual, I'm going to wait about a minute or two to allow our Facebook family to start joining us. Hello. Good to see you guys. See some of you guys logging on.
Oh, there's Rosa Campson. She's
Yes.
always here. We're always glad to see her.
And you know, I don't know, some of these people are my Facebook friends, so I don't know if that's...
G. Sifford is another one. Ever saw is another one. These are the old reliables.
Good evening. Good evening. So, good evening and welcome to another very educational Facebook Live with Dr. Charles S. Finch. I want to start off with one major announcement that I've spoken of before. Next July 2020, Dr. Finch will be hosting and leading a tour to ancient Egypt, the land of Kemet, and that will be towards the end of July.
July 16th to the 27th.
All the details are already formalized. We have a very detailed brochure on that. If you're interested, even, I mean, you don't have to know for sure. I know the trip will be around $5,000, but if you're interested, please inbox Dr. Finch. You can email him also at charlessfinch@gmail.com. Also, tonight's topic, I didn't mention it earlier, but Dr. Finch will be expounding on another one of his more favorite topics, parallels between the ancient Egyptians and the Dogon. So if you've got a lot of notes on that, you can just sit back and just, let the information continue to percolate in your minds. You too can become experts on that. Also, we do have maybe 1 or 2 copies left of the DVD in which he goes in depth on the topic. It is called The Dogon Man in the Cosmos.
It will be.
Yeah, we'll be ordering more of those.
Yes.
But
It'll take about 2 to 3 months for those to come in.
Yes. So if you want one of the last copies, definitely go to charlessfinch.com to get that. But if you want to pre-order it, you can probably do that too.
All the DVDs, there's two, actually all of them too. Wheel of Heaven and Dogon Man in the Cosmos are each $25, as is the book Star of Deep Beginnings. So just keep that in mind.
Yes. So, all right, Dr. Finch, you ready? Oh, for those of you, sorry, I forgot to say my name. But for those of you who are new, my name is Rabia Finch Lewis, and I'm with the great historian, African historian and scholar, teacher, lecturer, and spiritual teacher, Dr. Charles S. Finch. For more information, if you do want information, more background on him, you can go to his YouTube channel, Charles S. Finch, subscribe to it, and you can also go to his website, charlessfinch.com.
At gmail.com.
No,
the
.com
website, I'm sorry.
is the website.
It's a website.
All right,
That's right.
Go ahead.
Well, that's always a lot to live up to, but there it is, The title of our presentation today is The Dogon, a West African link to the ancient Nile Valley. It's really a comparison, a comparison between the Dogon system and the system of ancient Kemet. Now, the Dogon, there were 6, after the Assyrian invasion and conquest of Egypt, about 630 BC, there were like 6 migrations out of the Nile Valley westward into what is now West Africa. The Dogon represent the last of those migrations between about from 550 AD. All right, they ended up in their current habitat along the Bandiagara cliffs in Mali about 700 AD. 700 AD. Now I hope I didn't confuse. 550 AD is when they left Egypt, but they ended up in the Bandiagara cliffs of Mali at 700 AD. Okay, they were the last of those migrations out of Kemet, and into West Africa. And of all the West African systems that can trace their origins to ancient Kemet, theirs is the one, at least in my opinion, that preserved it most, shall we say, faithfully. Is that the word?
In
Faithfully,
its purest form, yeah.
and it's more rigorously than almost any other of the other major systems, spiritual systems, cultural systems that found their way into West Africa and are still there today. Now, and we just kind of go through. It's like we're just going to kind of go through and make the comparisons as we go along. We will start with the calendars. Now, you see, we think of calendars as something commonplace. It's just something that we mark the day or the time. I think what this is June 20.
No, it's July 2nd.
Sorry.
That's all right.
July 2nd, 2019, and we just sort of, it's so commonplace we don't think about what it takes to create a calendar like that. Maybe one day we'll talk about the calendar, because just like everything else, or nearly everything else of any cultural or scientific importance, you can trace it back to the Nile Valley. Okay. Now, the Dogon, they had a calendar of 360 days, 12 months, 30 days per month, 5-day weeks. Now, they, like the Egyptians, well, let's just talk about the Egyptians. The Egyptians had a calendar, 360 days, 12 months, 30-day months, and 10-day weeks. Now, they had what they call the epagomenal days. In other words, they would add those days on at the end of the year to give you 365 days. The Dogon did that, and the Egyptians did that. Now, we can talk, I don't know if we can talk about how they reconciled the quarter day, that's the true year. If we have time, we'll maybe try to touch on that before we finish this evening. So, complementary social groups. Among the Dogon, they were complementary social groups were masculine, feminine, initiates, non-initiates, elders, and youth. Among the ancient Egyptians, men, women, priests, lay persons, old, young.
So explain that. Complementary social groups.
Well, I mean, it just means that those social groups, how could I say it? Related to one another. One was not possible without the other, you could say. All right? Let me just leave it like that, okay?
So, so you said the masculine group?
Masculine, feminine, or men, women, initiates, non-initiates,
or
priests, lay persons, elders, youth, or old and young, okay? That's, okay, then, that's pretty easy to comprehend. I mean, a lot of other societies have similar kinds of relationships. Occupational castes, not classes, occupational castes, means you were, the occupation that you took up as an adult was the same one as your father, yeah. If your father, grandfather, great-grandfather, you were born into it, all right, all the way up as far back as you could.
And they both had them.
Yeah, that's true. There were farmers and metal workers among the Dogon, woodworkers, fishermen, leather workers, and griots. Among the ancient Egyptians, there were the agricultural peasantry, artisans, boatmen, stone workers, praise singers. These are just kind of, it doesn't exhaust the occupations, but those are the main ones that we know about, especially in agriculture.
And then the griots you talk about are storytellers.
Yeah, griots, that's it. Storytellers, not just, they're storytellers, but they're also telling the story of the lineage and the history of the people and their families and people. Theocratic governance. So among the Dogon is the Hogon, who was the priest ruler. Then there were the totemic priests, and then the council of elders, and then the administrators. Okay, and that was kind of hierarchy. Okay, among the ancient Egyptians, there's the pharaoh, who was the priest king. Then the sacerdotal priests, royal administrators, and scribes. All right. Lineage. Among the ancient Egyptians, the lineage was a patriarchal system superimposed on a kinship system through the female line.
So the female line obviously was preeminent.
Yeah, it was, well, let's just say it was foundational, all right? The female line, the matrilineal line was foundational and old and goes back into an ancient time period. Among the ancient Egyptians, we had a patriarchal superstructure undergirded by matrilineal family succession. People don't realize that ancient Egyptians, among the so-called common people, took their names from their mothers. Now, among the nobility and royalty, it was very patrilineal in that way, even in that way, but not among the common people. Okay, I'm talking about ancient Egypt now. We're talking about Nile Valley.
But that was also true across the whole ancient world. Matrilineal.
Yes, but especially in Africa.
Yes, that's
which continues today, by the way. Okay, the role of women. Among the Dogon, they were in charge of the home, controlled farm produce, which is not insignificant, major in fact, fashioned handiwork for sale, ran the marketplace, possessed their own secret societies and priestesses, and had the right to divorce.
And this is the Dogon.
This is the Dogon. Okay. Among the ancient Egyptians, again, they controlled the home. They passed their surnames to their children. I've already mentioned. This is among the common people. The women Egypt. Did. Women did. I'm sorry. Yeah.
The women.
They owned farms. They produced handicrafts for markets. Controlled the royal inheritance.
Yeah. So you inherited to the female line.
To the female line. To the female line, and only you had to be married to the one who was the hereditary princess. That's the best way of putting it. Princess. Maintained their own priestesshoods, just like the Dogon, and trained in certain professions, especially in medicine. All right. Spiritual personality. According to the Dogon, there are 9 components to the self. The ancient Egyptians said there were 7 components to the self. Again, in other words, there were. I don't know how else to put it. There's aspects, you might say, of the self: spiritual, material, psychic, mental, etc., etc. And again, that's something that requires its own separate treatment. Names. Among the Dogon, each person has 4 names, which represents his or her power. Power was in the names. They didn't give names kind of haphazardly at all. All right. And among the ancient Egyptians, names were considered words of power. All right. Now, the higher powers, gods, if you prefer. Among the Dogon, they're called Nomo, and they control the workings of the universe as active agents of the sole creator. Among the ancient people of Kemet or Egypt, they were called Neters, and ruled the universe as active principles of the creator. I mean, you can see how close, the systems were. The creator, among the Dogon, he was called let's not put a gender on it. The creator was called Amma, which means to hold firmly or to keep in the same place. Among the ancient Egyptians, the creator was called Amen, meaning to make firm or establish permanently. And all you Christians out there, at the end of your prayers, what do you say? You say, Amen. Be it so. That comes from a direct line of descent from the ancient Egyptian practice. Okay? The creation. Before creation, Amma had no place to stand. Among the ancient Egyptians, before creation, Amun-Ra had no place to stand. The world egg. Amma brought forth an egg containing the cosmos. So you can see that there are strong masculine elements and equally strong female elements in their conception of the creator. Among the ancient Egyptian, the egg of the world was fashioned by Ptah on the potter's wheel. The mind of the creator, Dogon. The universe came forth as a thought in the mind of Amma, who then uttered the creative word. Among the ancient Egyptians, the Neter, Thoth, or Jehudi, is the mind of Amun-Ra, where the universe is formed before it came forth as the word. Spittle and breath. Amma created life on earth from his spittle and breath. And among the ancient Egyptians, Atum created Tefnut from his spittle and Shu from his breath as the ancestors of living beings. The original powers. There are eight nomo, or primordial ancestors of man, or human beings. Among the ancient Egyptians, there were 8 primeval neters. Opening of the eyes. According to the Dogon, the creation of the universe begins when Amma opens his eyes. Among the ancient Egyptians, light is produced from the primeval darkness when Ra opens his 2 eyes. The original twins. Amma created the original male-female twins as the Po, or the primal seed. Among the Egyptians, Atum created the original male-female twins, Shu and Tefnut.
Oh, someone says there's 8 Vodun also.
Yeah, well,
originally?
Yeah, maybe major Vodun, yeah.
Okay. I always thought it was 7.
Yeah, but yes, you see 8. Well, okay, now you're gonna make me digress.
Oh.
There are 4, and each of the 4 ones, males,
Mm-hmm.
the 4 females. Let me get this right now. 4 males, each of one who had a female partner. The only one who did not have a female partner was Set or Eshu. Okay, so because he had rebelled. Mm-hmm. So there were supposed to be 8 or 8, but in fact, what happened? There turned out to be only 7. Okay. The seat and the seeds. Within Amma is the seat, which is the womb where the primordial seeds germinated. Isis is Aset, whose name means seat and womb. Mm-hmm. She is the source of grains and seeds. Fermentation and resurrection. Amma caused things in evolution to ferment, which is the resurrection of cereal grains destroyed in the brewing process. That's why they call it spirituous liquors. In ancient Egypt, Osiris represents the harvested grain, and through him, grain and grapes are fermented to produce spirituous liquors. It is another form of his resurrection. The fish being. The nomo anagono among the Dogon is a fish being who is a precursor of man. Ana means rain and man. In ancient Egypt, An is the great fish who was the harbinger of the Nile flood, the tears of Ra. The serpent of time. Nomo Sidsu is a serpent who symbolizes immortality. Among the ancient Egyptians, the serpent Sata dies and is reborn every day. The lotus. For it is among the Dogon, it is said of the water lily or the lotus that it is the eye of the pond, that is, of the water and of him who resides there. O Nomo, creature of Amma and begetter of humanity. In ancient Egypt, the neter Nefertem is associated with the lotus plant growing out of the pool of water, out of which emerges the head of the resurrected deceased. The creative water. Amma began his creation with water. In ancient Egypt, Atum began his creation in the primordial waters of Nun. Disorder and chaos. Dogon. Ogo the fox is the universal principle of disorder, disorganization, opposition, and diversification. In ancient Egypt, Set Anubis is the jackal or wolf and is the author of all rebellion and conflict. He leads the children of revolt. Prematurity and incompleteness. Ogo, and among the Dogon, is a premature being who stopped his own gestation and burst from his mother's side, dooming himself to incompleteness. That's why he did not have a partner. Set, in ancient Egypt, tore himself prematurely from his mother's womb, emerging from her side and sometimes shown lame and imperfect because he is incomplete. primordial incest. Ogo committed the primordial act of incest with his mother, the earth. In ancient Egypt, Geb, the earth god, committed incest with his mother. Now remember, we're talking about things on the divine level, so suspend your judgment about these things, right? The celestial ladder. The chain of Ogo, also called his ladder, connects earth and sky. In ancient Egypt, the ladder of Set connected heaven and earth. The thief of light. Ogo.
Isn't there a ladder
In
tower in the Bible?
yeah, ladder. It's Jacob. Jacob's ladder.
Yeah, Jacob's ladder.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
The thief of light. Among the Dogon, Ogo stole the sun's fire. In ancient Egypt, Set stole the sun's light. Power comes from the south. Among the Dogon, Ogo emerged from Amma's womb to the south. Now remember, we said Amma has both male and female aspects. Okay. Among the ancient Egyptians, Set comes from and is identified with the south. Opener of the way. Amma made Ogo the fox, this is a Dogon, descend to the world after an unauthorized ascent to show the way for all future descents of beings created in his womb. In other words, Ogo the fox came down to the world prematurely. All right? I'm sorry, he actually he went up into heaven prematurely, and so he was sent back down to the world to show the way for all future descents of being created in Amma's womb. In ancient Egypt, the jackal, Wepowat, is the opener of the way for all those souls descending into Amenta, the hidden land. The turning of the earth. The earth turns by the movement of the paws of the fox, who is Ogo. It is said, the fox has turned with his tail, the earth has turned on its axis. Mm-hmm. And who's at the North Pole now? In the ancient Egyptian terms, the jackal. We call him Little Bear, Ursa Minor, but the ancient Egyptians call it the jackal. At the North Pole, North Pole. All right? In the ancient Egyptian planisphere, the north polar axis upon which Earth turns point to the constellation of the jackal. Just what I said, Ursa Minor. The sacrifice of the twin. Nomo Anagono, the twin of Ogo, who personifies the seeds and growing plants, will be sacrificed, then resurrected to bring back order into Amma's creation. However, the equilibrium between order and disorder will be maintained in Amma's universe. Sacrificed, then resurrected. In ancient Egypt, Osiris Horus, who is the twin of Set, personifies all growing things. His death and dismemberment by Set leads to his resurrection, then a victory over Sethian disorder. However, Thoth or Jehudi restores the balance between Osiris, Horus on the one hand, and Set on the other, therefore between order and disorder. Humanity's guardian, Dogon. Nomo Anagono is humanity's ancestor, provider of spiritual principles, and protector. Ancient Egypt. Osiris Horus is the ancestor of human beings, the agent of their spiritual resurrection, and their guardian. Dogon, the sacrifice of the phallus. Nomo Anagono, the fish being, who is the image of man, was separated from his penis at his sacrifice, which was swallowed by a fish. Now, this is almost exact in ancient Egypt. Osiris, at the time of his death and dismemberment, was separated from his penis, which was swallowed by a fish. There's no difference in either the concept or the way in which the story or the mythology is related, almost word for word. The crucified victim, Dogon. The nomo anagono is a sacrificed victim who will be resurrected. He is tied, wait a minute, now I got to do this. He is tied to a tree. I have to go in front of my daughters.
Go ahead.
He's tied to his tree, standing up, arms outstretched, and attached to two branches extended at right angles from the tree.
That's a cross.
This is how he's sacrificed.
That's a cross. In case you had to think about it.
The crucifixion is, again, one of those
Not
things.
The first.
All right, let's keep on.
And then
Osiris is the principle of sacrifice and resurrection, who is raised upright on the Tet cross, or the Jed cross, a symbol of the tree. The raising of the Tet cross, or Jed cross, is an act of resurrection. You see, that's the thing about Yahushua, who was called the Christ. His resurrection and his divinity actually happens when he is on the cross. Between earth and heaven, or the nexus or the connection between earth and heaven, human and divine. Feeding mankind. According to the Dogon, Nomo Anagono shared his body among mankind to feed it. In Egypt, Osiris, in dying, gives his body as harvested grain to humanity for food. Removal of the organs of the body. Among the Dogon, Amma takes the body of the sacrificed Nomo Anagono, removes the 7 organs, and preserves them for the restoration of the Nomo in the time of his resurrection. In ancient Egypt, during the mummification of the Osirified deceased, 4 organs are removed from the body, placed in 4 canopic jars for preservation, then restored to the deceased at the time of resurrection. The restoration of the body. Dogon. Amma cuts up the body of the sacrificed Nomo, disperses those cut up parts, then regathers them, reknits the body with all the organs replaced, and brings Nomo back to life. In some version, it is Ogo the fox who performs this function. Now, in ancient Egypt, Set, after the death of Osiris, dismembers the body and scatters the parts. Isis then gathers the parts, puts them back together, and reanimates the body of Osiris. In other versions, it is Anubis the jackal who reassembles the body of Osiris and mummifies it, just like it is Ogo the fox among the Dogon. These parallels are too pinpoint, too close to be, you realize that one system is related to and derived from the other. Weaving the word in the water. In the formation of Amma's second universe, the Nomo will weave the word in the primordial water, creating the cloth of existence. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Neith, or Net, whose name means water, and weaving, and all that which is. Water, weaving, and everything that is what Neith's name symbolizes.
N-E-I-T-H.
It's N-I-N-E-T-I-H. In Egypt, if you just go to the Egyptian, it's kind of N-E-T. Again, the concepts are identical, or nearly so. The Syrian calendar. The Halaical rising of Sirius is a major event in the Dogon year, and of prime importance in their Sirius-based long calendar. And the ancient Egyptians discovered the calendar of 365 days. Oh, I'm going to talk about this. I said I wouldn't talk about it. Let's talk about it now. The ancient Egyptians discovered the calendar of 365 days based on the Halaical rising of Sirius. Halaical means right before the sun. Okay, Halaical rising of Sirius, and rectified their civil calendar of 365 days every 1,460 years. Where does that come from? Remember, the true calendar is 365 and a quarter days, and yet they kept a civil calendar of 365 days. It takes 1,460 years for that true calendar of 364 and a quarter days, and the civil calendar 365 days to come back together again. Just do the math. And you'll find that 1,460 years divided by 4, or 1/4, is 365. Orion. The Dogon say that the 3 stars of Orion's belt represent the sacrifice Nomo. Let me say something else. Nomo.
Yeah. It's basically Osiris.
Well, that's what, yeah. The ancient Egyptians called Orion Sahu, which is a spiritual body of Osiris, the sacrifice netter. Finally, the beneficent sun. The Dogon depict the sun with each of his rays ending in an open hand, representing Amma's power over all creation. The pharaoh Akhenaten in Egypt installed the sun disk Aten as the single deity of Egypt, with his rays ending in open hands. Now, there were 42 of these comparisons. That was a little somewhat arbitrary. Why did I use the number 42? It was what I call the 42 declarations of innocence in the so-called Book of the Coming Forth by Day, incorrectly called the 42 negative confessions. But what they're not negative confessions, they're declarations of innocence. And so I just took that number as to make the, accumulate or collect the comparisons between the Dogon on one hand and the ancient Egyptians on the other in terms of their psycho-mythical spiritual system. So that is just, but this what we just did just now just shows you how close they were. The Egyptian system, or the Nile Valley system on one hand, and the Dogon almost in some places identical. And remember, the Dogon were the last of the people from the Nile Valley to travel westward and into Mali, and preserved.
So it answers the question: where did the ancient Egyptians go? What happened to them?
Some of them, okay. Many of them went west, like I told you. Many of them went back to the south. Many of them stayed in Upper Egypt or Nubia.
So Nubia, West Africa.
And they would go back to south into Kush, or what we today call Ethiopia. No, I'm sorry.
Well,
no.
That's Nubia.
Sudan. Sorry.
That's Nubia.
The Kush would be what we today call the northern third of the Sudan.
Yeah.
Ethiopia in olden times was called Abyssinia, with today's Ethiopia.
And a lot of those tribes, the Nuer, the Dinka, the Shilluk, they very similar to the ancient Egyptians.
In their
culture.
In their thought processes, yes.
In their spiritual beliefs.
That's kind of how it went with them. They went west. They went back. They retreated west after 6,000. After almost 8,000 years south, or they stayed in the area around Aswan. You can see their representatives today among the so-called Nubians there when you travel to Egypt, as we will be going in
next year.
2020.
In 1 year, exactly, almost. And I just want to make this statement also, that the people that you see there today in Egypt are not representative of what the ancient Egyptians were at all. They're the descendants of the Arab conquest.
They're Arabs.
The Islamic Arab conquest of Egypt. And so the natives of Egypt,
you have to go down to Aswan to see them. Those who
mostly left. There's still a few, but mostly they left. Someone did ask a question. I didn't want to completely go without. I don't know if you heard of
Boubacar Lam. Yes. I have met Boubacar Lam, and yes, I read his book. What his book is called? Oh my goodness!
See, we just have senior moments here.
Don't mind. I'd have to go. I have it. I'd go get it, but I don't want to do that. But Boubacar Lam, he was a disciple of Sheikh Anta Diop and a colleague of Teofilo Benga.
And he talked about.
Oh yeah, he just continued their work about the relationship. His book, the details because he's a Tukulor, okay? These are the people who live in northern Senegal. And he details, mostly through linguistics, but also some archaeological finds, the migration route out of Kemet into Senegal.
Oh yeah, the Senegalese. A lot of them seem to have roots from.
And
ancient Kemet.
I have met him as well as Job and Obenga. So,
yeah, definitely.
That's who Boubacar Lam is, and so the fact that whoever knows who Boubacar Lam is, that's somebody who is well informed, because he's not known to the Western world hardly at all. His books are still in French, so I had to read it in the original French. And but yes, he's one of the triumvirate of scholars from out West Africa, Job, Obenga, and Lam, who have done the kind of work that connects the Nile Valley to West Africa in a way not done by anybody else.
That's amazing. Okay, so if you guys want, just Dr. Finch, you can go when this is over. You can at some point find out what that book is, the name of that book, and put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Boubacar Lam. Also, someone asked about next year the trip to Egypt. That'll be a tour of the monuments and the pyramids.
The major tourist sites are always, the Step Pyramid Saqqara, the pyramids at Giza.
The Great Pyramid.
Then you go to Luxor, and you go to Karnak, and then you go across the river to Hatshepsut's temple at Deir el-Bahari. Luxor, Karnak. So, and then you kind of bring it all together by going down to Aswan, and then you take a 3-hour bus ride to the temple the temple erected by Ramesses III with all those huge statues.
And you'll also visit the site where Tony Browder is excavating.
Yes, Anthony Browder, I call him, is excavating, one of the co-excavators of the tomb of Karakamun, who was a 25th dynasty high priest. And he was one of he's the major funder, or the one who has found the funds to finance that excavation. But he's also become an excavator himself, and he's been doing that for 10 years. And they have reconstructed that temple tomb there, and that's become a site to, it's a stopping place along with the other sites to see, because it's kind of quite remarkable what they have done to reconstruct that tomb. And some of you undoubtedly have heard him speak or seen him speak, and he talks about that until you've seen some of the photos of what has been done there, and he shows you what it looked like 10 years ago and what it looks like now. And it's remarkable that there was a whole temple complex literally buried beneath the sands, that there was a village over top of it. And the Egyptian government basically had to move the villagers in order for it to be excavated.
Well, there must be tons of that in the Nile Valley.
Oh,
my God!
You could. There is no inch of the land on either side of the Nile River for at least 15 miles on either side, 20 miles on either side, that is not archaeologically significant.
Wow.
If you just dig, almost doesn't matter where you dig. Start digging. You go down 15, 20 feet. You will come across archaeological finds. Yeah.
All right. So if you're interested in going on that trip, and you're going to see all that stuff we just said, and you'll be led by this man right here, please inbox Dr. Finch. I wanted to try to post the brochure, but it's double. It's got a lot of pages to it. It's so detailed that I think the best way is for us to either just send you a copy or email it.
Well, what we do is we would send you a what do you call it?
In the mail?
Yeah, email with an attachment. That's what I'm trying to think of the whole brochure.
Yes. So, or you can email him directly, charlesfinch@gmail.com. Charles S. That's a double S. Charles S. Finch.
One word.
At gmail.com. And of course, his website is charlessfinch.com. So please, if you're interested, or if you know of anyone who is, once in a lifetime experience. Again, it's kind of like what Dr. Finch says, for the Muslims going to Mecca, that would be equivalent for us.
This is what I say about to African Americans. Making that pilgrimage to ancient Kemet is very similar, tantamount to the way in which Muslims view their pilgrimage to Mecca. You won't understand what I mean by that until you actually do it and go and see it.
Thank you for somebody posting it. Yes, so they won't get it wrong. Thank you, Mr. Marco.
And then it won't. It would leave a permanent imprint on you, even if you only go one time. That's all I can tell you. I mean, you've seen these pyramids and these temples and things about ancient Egypt on Discovery Channel and National Geographic. And I'm not far from trying to belittle or dismiss that. Yes, I would hope people continue to watch those programs and read, study. I haven't even mentioned that.
No, I don't mention it.
How many books do I have on ancient Egypt? A couple of hundred?
Oh, you? Yeah.
The point is,
true.
but nothing is quite like actually going there and experiencing it. Browder goes every year, sometimes twice a year. You could go with him. He's leaving soon. He's leaving in a matter of a few days with a tour of 60 people.
All right, so we're wrapping up. We should be back in 2 weeks, unless I don't know when. I can't think of when that would be. I guess that's the 16th. The 16th?
Yeah.
We should be back in 2
weeks.
I
think I'll be in town. So. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in.